Okay, with that aside, I'd like to welcome our presenters for this session. Robin Hickson. Robin is the Dean of Engagement and Retention. Robin's been working at Metropolitan Community College since 2001. Since then, she has held the positions of Academic Advisor, Student Services Director for the Fort Omaha campus, Dean of the Sarpy County Center. Robin's key projects have included assisting in development of an employee mentoring leadership programs in the development of new student orientation. She attended Texas Christian University as a journalism major and graduated with a master's in psychology from Bellevue University. Robin earned her Master of Science degree in organizational management with a focus on entrepreneurship and economic development in 2007. Robin's passion at work and focus is in connecting students and staff to leadership opportunities, mentoring opportunities, and supporting student success and engagement initiatives. And then we also have Shanda Clark. Shanda has served Metropolitan Community College for 15 years as project coordinator and over 25 years of experience in the educational field and private sector. She earned her Bachelor of Science degree in education from the University of Central Missouri. Currently, as the project coordinator for the VP of Student Affairs and administrator of the of MyHub, which is MCC's engagement portal. Shanda's drive is fueled by her desire to see people be successful. Shanda wears many hats at MCC, but she has a great fondness for her role as an advisor to student organizational leaders and the Student Advisory Council, along with her leadership with MCC's annual Student Leadership Conference. And Lindsay has worked at MCC for 3 years. She previously served as the AmeriCorps Program Director and is currently a Community Engagement Project Specialist. Serving her community is a vital part of her life. From 2003 to 2013, Lindsay served on the Run for Justin Committee, which was focused on outreach and engagement to raise awareness and donations for the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. She has served as a big sister through Big Brothers and Big Sisters of the Midlands for the past 8 years. Lindsay earned her bachelor's degree in general studies from the University of Nebraska, Omaha. And Liz has served as project assistant in student affairs at Metropolitan Community College for over 2 years. She enjoys working on different projects that challenge her thinking and creative approach. She is an MCC graduate, currently pursuing a degree in school psychology and philosophy at the University of Nebraska, Omaha. I will turn it welcome.
Okay, well, thank you, Melissa. What a nice introduction. Thank you, everyone. I'm so glad that you could join us today. I hope you're having a great conference. We have at Metro Community College a team of 6 in our student and community engagement office, and you have 4 of us here today for this session. And our objectives for this session are just what you're seeing here, and I can let you read those. But basically, what we would like to do is paint a picture for you of what student engagement and involvement looked like at Metro Community College before the onset of the pandemic and all the restrictions. Then we're going to tell you about how we modified some of our events and activities. And then you're going to hear about some exciting things that we have coming up in the year ahead. So just to get us started, we'll go ahead and look at our co-curricular mission. And those are, all of the things that are complementary to the curricular mission. And so those should offer dynamic learning opportunities and services that empower students to lead, achieve their goals, and become engaged members of a diverse community. So many of you, realize that retention and persistence is the big thing at colleges, and it's really a big challenge for all colleges, let alone community colleges like Metro Community College. And here at MCC, we don't have athletics and we don't have dorms, so we have to work extra hard. But we realize that the connection between engagement and persistence and retention. We know that students who have a sense of belonging and they identify with the college are going to have a higher rate of success. So we have worked really hard for a long time to provide a very vibrant student involvement culture. One of the things we had done last year, beginning in 2018, we had worked very hard on a brand new face-to-face orientation experience for students. And we had just really rolled that out in the fall. We had piloted it, but we really rolled out the big event in the fall of 2019, and it was a big success. We finally were able to provide that consistent face-to-face experience for over 1,300 students. So that was a terrific thing that was happening. And then we had, about 4 years running, we had a fabulous student leadership conference for students. It was full of, breakout sessions. It was a one-day conference that would happen every year in around October, November. And it was for students and planned by students. Students served on the committee that planned it. And it was really exciting. It was a very professional experience for students. And we were very proud of that. And you're going to see a great picture of that coming up in one of the slides ahead. But we also had about 30 organizations and clubs who were registered and utilizing our engagement platform, which was called MyHub. Those of you that know Campus Labs might have heard of Campus Labs, and that's our platform for student engagement. It's a retention tool, and we had clubs like the Be Kind Club, we had a Leadership Connection Club, we have Phi Theta Kappa and Kappa Beta Delta honor societies. There's a student advisory council in lieu of a student government. All of these clubs were on MyHub and using that tool to recruit members and to plan meetings and publicize their events, which mostly were face-to-face. And so then we also were getting out of the awareness portion of MyHub and into kind of creating awareness about the different tools that MyHub has. And there's a tool you're going to hear about called the Involvement Record. And Liz is going to tell you a little bit about that later, but it's basically like a transcript of all of the students' experiences and volunteer experiences and activities that they can actually print out and attach to their transcript and take it to job interviews, or they can use it to apply for scholarships. So it's really an added value, that involvement record. So that was going on. And then in our community engagement, we had community partnerships being cultivated to form opportunities for volunteering and leadership opportunities with places around our 4-county area, organizations such as Habitat for Humanity, Restore, Salvation Army. We were partnering with them and cultivating those relationships so that we could offer those volunteer opportunities to students. And then every quarter, for years, we've always had a welcome week, which is, at the beginning of each quarter, 4 quarters a year. So all staff would come out to greet students, and it was very active, welcome week. And then about the second week of every quarter, we would have resource fairs at all of our big locations. And this was with connecting students to all of the services in different areas for student support services. And we would have music and activities. And I really think that what the students experienced at Metro prior to the pandemic was really a pretty healthy, robust, active student environment, or ambiance, if you will. I think they probably saw those efforts. So then along about March and February comes the COVID-19, the pandemic. And so what this meant for everything, it could have just come to a screeching halt, but it didn't. But the college implemented a 4-phase plan to move everybody off campus, as many people off campus as possible. And what this meant for engagement was really, pretty serious, because there was a lot of uncertainty and people wondering what was going to happen, you know, one of the very first things they did was they restricted large gatherings. So we had to, you know, cancel our Phi Theta Kappa induction ceremony. We had to cancel student clubs and orgs meeting because they weren't permitted to have group meetings anymore. So we had to do some quick maneuvering, and we did it though. So we're here to tell you that, you know, can you have student engagement, you know, during a pandemic? Well, yes, you can. So we're going to tell you a little bit about it. So first, with the online orientation, this is the screenshot of the first page when students go to our website and go to our online orientation. This is the first page that they see. And it had almost been finished when the pandemic hit, but this really was the impetus to really get it published and get it on there. So all of these tabs have videos that explain all of these services that new students would utilize. So it opens up with a welcome from our Vice President, Maria Vasquez. And each tab has videos that explain, but we had to add that green tab up at the top that had more relevant information about COVID-19 and about the adjustments that we were making and all of the remote alternate services. So that really serves as a nice overview. So we added that tab. So that's what we did for orientation. And then in addition to that, though, I should point out that it was determined that there were some students that perhaps needed a supplemental piece to this that were we designed a transition summit that was targeted towards underprepared students. And so what happens now with new students is they're all directed to do the online orientation, and then they can do the transition summit for that face-to-face kind of relational experience that some students still crave. So we still wanted to offer that. So it's really a two-piece strategy: the online orientation and then the transition summit for students who need that. So now Shanda's going to tell you a little bit about our student leadership.
Hi, everyone. So I'm going to take care of two things: student leadership series and the student leadership conference. Starting with the student leadership series, this past winter, we organized and implemented a new leadership series here at Metro with our student officers in mind. And so we started our planning in the winter. And part of that planning was meeting with students for face-to-face focus groups and some surveying to find out what their top topics would be for us to present in a leadership series. And the top three were self-awareness, inclusivity, and decision-making. And from that, we added a fourth session to the series called Celebration, okay? So we had our plan. We kicked it off in late February, face-to-face, great turnout, very engaged, active students. We had some food, some fellowship, and some really meaningful interactions and discussion about self-awareness in student leadership, or in leadership. But then March came, and all of a sudden we got this message: you know what? No more group meetings, no more face-to-face. And we thought, we just kicked off this great series. We have our faculty lined up to present. Now what? Well, we took a breath, right? Just breathe and let's recalibrate. So we reached out to our faculty to see if they were on board with offering online Zoom sessions. And they were, and so we worked with them to design that, to communicate to all their students. We're moving from face-to-face to Zoom, and the series will continue, will persist, just like we expect our students to persist. We need to persist and follow through with our commitment to our students. So we did that, and we used March for our staff and for Robin and I, just to get used to Zoom. So we had makeup sessions. We had some students that weren't able to come to the first session. So we used March as a learning experience, just to acquaint ourselves with Zoom. And so we offered several makeup sessions. And that's a reflection, I believe, having those makeup sessions on our, excuse me, student attendance. So if you look at this little pie chart here, you can see that 73% of all the students that attended actually went to all 4 sessions, which is amazing. We're very thrilled about that because that occurred during a pandemic, right? When you would think everything might come to a halt, it did not. Our students needed to be part of as they read in their comments, as you can see below. And they were just very happy and pleased that we continued the conference. Or not the conference, but the series. So you can just see that 73%, that's a huge number. We had 22 participants and we concluded with a celebration. And our celebration was very special for our students because we had our Vice President for Student Affairs, Dr. Vasquez, join us for the whole hour. And she shared with them her journey, her leadership journey. And then she opened it up to discussion with the students about their journey, what their dreams were, what their aspirations were, or are, and where they're at. And they asked her questions. It was just a really meaningful time with our students. So with that, I'm gonna segue into our next slide. And along with the celebration, we had a certificate. We offered each student that completed a certificate. And we had a presentation during the celebration that came in the way of like a slideshow of certificates so we could honor each student in front of our Vice President for Student Affairs. That meant a lot to our students. And then we mailed them their certificate along with a book. And you can see this book right here, Unlikely Viking. And the book is authored by our keynote speaker for our Student Leadership Conference, Gary Clark. And Gary is a leader in our community, and he was also a leader while he was in college too. So it's just a perfect fit for him to be our keynote speaker at our leadership conference. However, our amazing student engagement team, we had 2 people out of our engagement team that said, you know what, we can take this a little bit further. Instead of just dropping off this summer with leadership conversations, let's have a book discussion. We can do this. And so Taylor, which she wasn't able to be with us today, but Lindsay is, Lindsay and Taylor got together, built out a curriculum to have a Zoom book discussion. And this really helps us twofold. One, it keeps us connected with our leaders, our student leaders throughout the summer. And 2, it helps promote our upcoming Student Leadership Conference with the hope that these students will tell other students how amazing our keynote speaker will be and to come join us virtually online for our conference. So this is the first year we're offering a virtual conference for our students. And so we're extremely excited and enthusiastic about putting this virtual conference online for our students, because we think more students will be able to attend virtually than perhaps in the past. We serve quite a diversity of students at our community college. 70% are at risk. A lot of them are juggling family and schedules, and it's just hard sometimes for them to break away and physically attend. So we really think that we'll have a great participation with this virtual online conference. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Lindsay, and she is going to talk about MyHub and student org clubs. Lindsay?
You're muted.
Sorry. And thank you, Shanda. As you guys have already heard mentioned a couple times, is MyHub. And like they said, it is our online platform for all of our student clubs and organizations here at MCC. So with that, we were actually really fortunate that all of that stuff was already online. And our campus labs team, the crew out there, were working just as hard as everyone else. And they incorporated a feature for Zoom meetings, which we took advantage as a college very quickly to try and implement as many virtual meetings as we could to keep our students engaged. You've heard some of them mentioned. Be Kind, our ethical hacking club was meeting. Phi Theta Kappa is an honor society that our office has the pleasure of working with. Some of the really cool things that have come out of the virtual meetings and interactions with these students is that because they're virtual, we can offer them at a variety of times, variety of days. And because of that, we've actually seen students come out of the woodwork to come to these meetings that have been in the club since September last fall. And they said they've wanted to come to the online or to the campus meetings, but it just never worked for their schedules. So being virtual actually has brought some students out of the woodwork that being on campus otherwise wouldn't have. So I definitely think we are noticing the benefit of it today, but when things morph into whatever the future normal is, I definitely think we are going to continue to use this virtual component to target as many students as we can. Another really cool thing that we were able to do online through MyHub was offer officer elections for Phi Theta Kappa. So instead of doing it in person where you present and everyone votes day of, we actually had a form, they applied, then we videotaped all of them who wanted to run, sent those out, we solicited votes, and we now have an officer team. So you can see 4 of them in the picture below on the screen. They're so excited. A lot of them were just like, I just want to be involved. I want to get into something in these crazy times. So that was really exciting. To honor and keep the excitement up for our sites, our school has established what we call our MyHub Site Awards. We do them twice a year. We go through all of our organizations and clubs and we vote, we rank them on their pictures and their about section and 5 different categories. And at the end of it, whoever has the most points will get $50 to celebrate and use towards their club. So we did that this spring. We didn't stop because we were like, people are not doing anything. It was actually more incentive to say, hey, no, things are still normal. We can still do things. And we want to celebrate you even in the midst of everything going on. So with that, after we established our awards, we wanted to continue momentum into the fall for our fall awards. So I'm going to transition it off to Liz and she'll explain what we're doing with that.
Thank you, Lindsay. So we're going to be talking about how we have been able to share information across our different student clubs and organizations, as well as the different staff and faculty. So in this age of social distancing, virtual engagement and information sharing is more important now than ever. So as Lindsay shared, MyHub has amazing information sharing capabilities through events and news postings. The online platform also hosts our students, organizations, and club sites, as well as MCC department sites, such as like library services or tutoring center sites. To keep our students and staff informed on the new platform updates and tools, our team has a MyHub resource site where students and staff and faculty may contact our team with any questions or request any more knowledge on how to use MyHub and its different tools. So to support our student clubs and organizations, our team has been offering virtual office hours through the summer to try to help members of any and all the clubs that we have maximize their online involvement and strengthen their MyHub sites. So hopefully we can keep the momentum going, as Lindsay said, into the fall, whatever that may look like. So in addition to all of that, we are also still sharing our involvement record, which Robin talked a little bit about earlier. The involvement record is a tool found in MyHub that records the students' co-curricular involvement and any other of their achievements through their time at MCC. The involvement record is automatically formatted, as you can see on the screen, to look like a transcript, very professional, and you can easily attach it to applications and resumes for whatever students may need. Prior to the pandemic, our engagement team presented in over 28 classrooms and distributed over 500 involvement record guides across MCC. As the faculty transitioned to virtual teaching, our team began to offer involvement record training sessions online through the spring quarter. Those were very successful. They had a number of participants attend and that wanted to learn more about how they can use this tool. As a result, we plan to offer virtual training sessions and host office hours in an effort to support our MCC students online. So we're still trying to see what that looks like and, you know, make some changes if we need to on how we are offering these office hours and what else we can do to support our students and our staff at MCC. And I'll hand it back over to Robin.
Okay, thank you, Liz. You know, most of us know the link and understand how important engagement is to persistence and retention, but I think it's important to remember the impact it has on career readiness. And that's why I love this quote. And I'll just go ahead and read it. While 39% of those with a college degree indicated they were engaged at work, Gallup reports that if graduates were extremely active in extracurricular activities and organizations while attending college, their odds of being engaged at work nearly doubled. So I think that kind of says it all. And that was published in the NACE article in 2017. But there was another study that I really liked that I learned about when I was at a Campus Labs conference a couple of years ago. It was called Project CEO. And I wonder if some of you have heard about it. CEO stands for Co-Curricular Experience Outcomes. And they started this huge survey back in 2015 where they started out with 40 institutions, and now they're up to 74 institutions, and they've actually surveyed 180,000 students regarding these 12 career readiness traits. And they're traits like team building and networking and analytical abilities and communication and problem solving, things like that. But they asked the students where they felt they attained these traits. And overwhelmingly, they said in the classroom as the number one place that they attained those traits. But the number two place that they said they attained the traits was engagement and involvement. So I was really excited about that. They have a great white paper out there that you can access online if you're interested in learning more about that study. It's really fascinating. They do it every year. So anyway, now we wanted to gather some of our own data, right, about our own engagement at the college. So I'm going to turn it over to Shanda to tell you about that.
Hey, hi everybody again. So just a little context for this survey that we did. A little context about our community college. Most of you know community college, a diverse body of people, that a lot of non-traditional students that juggle school, work, and family. So sometimes student engagement is like a moving target. They move in and out of it at times, depending on their priorities, right? And family's a top one, school, work. But also keep in mind, 70% of our students here at Metro Community College are at-risk students. So some of these students have various barriers that some are some are transparent, you can see them, others aren't. Transportation is a challenge for a good many students, and other barriers that most of you are probably fairly aware of. But just keeping that in context with all of this, I just want to say we weren't really surprised at the results, but we came away from these results with some successes and some opportunities. So we just like to cover that with you. Keep in mind, when we did this random sampling, we went outside of our engagement office and asked somebody that was neutral to these students that we serve in engagement, and asked them to select 75 randomly selected students for us to survey. So out of the 75, we were able to engage with 35 of them and ask them questions pertaining to this survey. And so let's just go over that real quickly. Keeping in mind, this is just covers the time from fall of 2019 to the spring of 2020. So it's actually a blend of face-to-face engagement with a dash of our virtual engagement. So looking forward, we're looking forward to doing this survey again in the winter, so we can see just a pure virtual engagement survey too. So we'll just keep the survey going on in the future as well, so we can compare and contrast. Okay, so our first question, how long have you attended? As you can see in the yellow and the gray, most of the students that were surveyed said they attended more than 3/4, good chunk of them. And then we asked the question, have you attended an org club meeting or an event from fall 2019 to spring? And you see here 50% said they were non-active, did not. So that's an opportunity for us, right? To see how we can reach out to those non-actives to see if they would be interested in getting engaged, okay? And we were very pleased that this orange area, that our students that responded to the survey, 35% of them said they were engaged with 2 or more orgs or events or meetings. We look to decrease the blue and increase the orange, right? Because we want them to come back and participate and not just attend one, but persist with their co-curricular engagement. And we had comments, the survey, but one we just gleaned was that a student said it was so important for me to connect with others on Zoom during COVID. So this apparently is a student that was engaging with us in co-curricular during the COVID time. Okay, so Robin mentioned, or I believe she mentioned before, that student engagement here at Metro, and I'm sure at other colleges, it's not just an island. It's not just about a silo or a certain group or student life or the engagement office. It's the whole college and how we engage in various ways at the college. So we asked the students the question, how did you hear about org clubs? And this didn't surprise us because we worked really, really hard to do this. However, we were very delighted to see that those randomly 35 students out of over 18,000 students that were picked, these are the results. So you can see a balance of various ways that students learned about org clubs. It's no surprise that a good chunk of it were faculty, because 19 out of our 30-some org clubs are academic program clubs and organizations. One thing that really delighted us was to see that 17% of the students were telling other students about org clubs. That is an area that we'd love to see all these areas grow and expand, but that one is very hopeful, because if you can get students to tell other students why being involved in co-curricular activities is so important and the changes that it made for them and what they're gaining from it, that is powerful, right? To hear it from their peers. They can hear it from us, they can hear it from advisors and faculty. All of that's important, but to hear it from their peers, like I said before, that's powerful. Okay, so now that was a question directed towards active students. Let's look at non-active students, these two pie charts below. We asked the question, what was the main reason you don't want to get involved? And no surprise, community college, we have a lot of students with different priorities, and possibly they're, it's enough in life to juggle family, work, and school, right? And so perhaps co-curricular student life isn't a high priority for them. We respect that, right? But we want to offer as much engagement opportunities for those that want to get engaged. What is a challenge or an opportunity here is those that say they didn't know. That's a bigger slice of the pie than we'd care to see. We can find ways to reduce that. And if we just go up here, do the front chart, making more faculty aware would be great. We have over 240 full-time faculty, but almost 1,000 adjunct faculty. Think about that. That is a huge, huge population that, as a priority, their classrooms are a priority. That one class they're teaching with the field that they're working probably full-time in, that's their focus, that's their priority. We totally respect that. But with looking to the future, with our college moving towards guided pathway models, we will be bringing adjunct and all faculty and all college members on board with student pathways, guided pathways. And with that is a huge opportunity for us to better communicate to all our faculty, and especially those adjuncts, the importance of student engagement in org clubs. Because guess what? Part of the guided pathway features is, and the model is ideally syncing org clubs with their academic programs, right? So that involves faculty, that involves adjunct. And so that's really promising, especially when you look at our last pie chart here. So we asked non-active students, if you're not active, what would you be interested in if you were to get active? And look at this, a good majority, 50% said academic. And then a good chunk said leadership. And both academic and leadership tie into academic programs, their careers, why they go to college. Most of them come to college so they can build skills, knowledge, learning, applications, so they can go out into the workforce, into their field, into their career. And so the more, once we get into guided pathway models that sync academic programs with student org clubs, then guess what? We're meeting more of the need of non-active students. We're meeting their need to get active and the motivation for them to get active once we go through this guided pathway and involve more org club, or excuse me, involve more academic programs in org club co-curricular opportunities. So that's just very encouraging. That means we have some work cut out for us, but we're ready. As you can see, our MyHub platform just has positioned us in a great position, or that's a little redundant, but it has positioned us in a great place to respond to our faculty that have a need to develop org clubs, and we're here for them. And we're just anticipating it. We're just hoping it comes sooner than later, because we're ready for more student engagement in this virtual environment. Robin, I'm going to send it back to you. So oh, no, wait, there's one more slide. I'm gonna close this portion with this last slide. And this has to do with student outcomes. I'm not gonna go through all these student outcomes here, but just in conclusion with this data, what did we learn? Okay, so the successes, opportunities, that's what I'll just quickly cover here. Success, we learned from our students that they they thought our org clubs provided fun, positive, accepting environments for them to meet in co-curricular ways. The students felt a sense of belonging as a result of participating with co-curricular activities. That's very important, that sense of belonging for persistence and completion and reaching their goals. Opportunities, things that we will work on. Okay, how do we find better ways to communicate our resources and support for students during a crisis? And ways to increase org clubs, opportunities for org club leaders to practice their leadership skills within their org club. And we can certainly work for ways to better support our clubs and our leaders and giving them more opportunities to practice those skills. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to Robin so she can wrap things up for us.
I think that we're getting close to being finished, but I just, in summary, just want to say that the pandemic really was hard. We had to do some fancy dancing, but it is definitely possible to have student engagement with all these restrictions. The successes that we had, I mean, we had student elections, officer elections. That was a huge success, you know, and with the online orientation, we had, you know, 161 students go through that in a couple of weeks. That was great. And with virtual ceremonies, almost anything that you could do in face-to-face, you could do in a Zoom environment, but you have to have a vehicle to get the awareness out there. And so for us, we have a MyHub platform, but we also have to rely on faculty, advisors, navigators. They are face-to-face with students and they are helping us spread the word. So they're a huge part of your team in just making sure students know about their leadership opportunities that your college has for them. But because students want that. They really do. And that's, I think we've seen that. That's the big takeaway from what we've been through the last several weeks and months, is that students still want engagement. So thank you, everybody. If you have any questions at all, please just type it into chat and we'll respond to you probably in the days ahead. But thank you so much for joining us. And I wish we had more time to tell you how much fun we have in our student engagement at Metro.
We do have a couple minutes for questions, I think, guys. You're scheduled till 3:15, right? Yeah. So if anybody does have questions, I think, Robin, you answered the one that was already in the chat.
Was it?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
So on your survey that you did for the non-attenders, there was an other block that had kind of a decent percentage when you asked, like, what would you like to see as far as engagement opportunities? Did you have any information on what, you know, that were they giving examples of what that other might have been?
No, they did not. On the other, they had an opportunity to make comments, but no, we didn't see any. They did not comment on what that other would be.
Okay.
I'm thinking probably other categories. You know, we kind of lumped social special interests, could run, you know, political special interest, hobbies, crafts. I mean, there's a lot of other, right?
Yeah.
Gaming, online gaming, that's a student engagement virtual thing that I'm expecting to pop up again. Online gaming club.
Yeah.
Now that's big. At other colleges, it takes a lot of resources, but as students are interested in it, it's just a little more challenging to implement.
One thing that was interesting on that last screen when asked why students weren't involved, of the students who were not involved, why they were not involved, a big percentage of them had said it was due to having no time. And one thing that we have found with the Zoom and virtual meetings and activities is we're seeing a little bit higher rate of attendance and participation. So I'm anxious to do this survey again. Yeah, down there, I think it's like 50% was the main reason why they don't have time. And but I think with offering Zoom meetings and things like that, people don't have to get in the car and drive to the college. They can just do it from their kitchen table, or wherever they are, they can go to Scooters or to Starbucks and sit down and get involved. You know, it's a big time saver, actually. So when we do the survey again, I'm really looking at that to see if we're getting a higher rate of participation. So, yeah, Taylor's pointing out that we're also finding that we can offer more flexible times for meetings with the Zoom format, so, you know, we're learning as we go. It's really kind of exciting, and the innovation that's happening is exciting in itself. Does anybody there who's attending have any great ideas for engagement in this pandemic? Like, does anybody have anything they can offer?
I know other colleges are on this Zoom, and I know they're doing engagement, virtual engagement probably too, and we've got a lot to learn. We're just beginning, right?
Yeah, we still have a couple minutes, so if anybody else has any other questions or anything that they would like to add to the discussion. But I guess if there's no other questions, we can wrap up here early. Couple housekeeping things again. One is our closing will be at 3:30. All conference materials and presentation recordings, look for them to be posted on our conference website within the week. And just thank you guys for putting this together, for sharing what you've learned. It was fabulous, so thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Everybody enjoy the rest of the conference.
Excuse me, hey, Melissa?
Oh, Dave, yeah.
Let me ask this. Do we have any participants from a different country? And if so, would they be willing to share what sort of clubs or one club that has been their most successful on their campus?
I don't know if anybody has anything that they'd like to share.
From a different country? No Canada, no Japan, no Australia, no Netherlands.
Dave, I think because we ended the session, we might have had people step out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true.
That was too late. Thanks.
Well, I hope the rest of the conference goes really well for everybody. Thank you so much.
Thanks, KP and Melissa,
Thank
for
you guys.
guiding through all this. Okay.
Bye-bye.
Take care.